at our final stages, and we shall hear Zakir's affirmative rebuttal and closing remarks. Zakir, you have 6 minutes, starting from now.
Thank you, Raj. The few points that you just mentioned just now can be carried out by even the smaller companies, the CSRs, and helping the local economies. They are just basically entities that social development within a local economy that even a normal private company can do, even the smaller enterprises can do. It doesn't have to be run by Petronas or Telecom or any other GLCs or TNB. I think even the GLCs themselves are probably inefficient. I'm not saying that they're not doing their CSR work, they are, but probably even at a smaller group level, they better run and manage on their CSR level. On the point where you mentioned that they're helping the other companies like 1901, wouldn't there be, it's just market forces within other companies to help not help other companies so that they generate other businesses for the other companies? For example, 1901 in Petronas, if it is run by a non-GLC, wouldn't they want also to attract other businesses within their petrol stations? You don't have to run a GLC in order to have other companies to build your business. So the overall view of GLCs are that yes, they are needed in certain sectors, but as I mentioned just now, over time to come, I think with technologies and better ways to manage certain industries, like for example, railways and electricity grid, in time to come, I think we will have technologies and better managed systems whereby you will have several TNBs running the grid. You don't need to have one TNB running the grid. Not only that, I also have the view that these current GLCs are so monopolistic and very monolithic in nature, very big in nature, that they are difficult to handle in such a large group. It is because it is a top-down approach from the very beginning. They have done it from a top-down approach from the beginning. If the CEOs and the managing directors of these GLCs have a better ways of handling things, I think, for example, if you can, let's say they have certain subsidiaries. If the CEOs of GLC say that, okay, what is the why of your subsidiary, of this one subsidiary A that I have? What is the why and what is the mission that I want the subsidiary to continue to pursue? And let them run loose. Rather than a top-down approach, okay, this is the overall vision of the big GLCs, and we spoon-feed you from the top to down. That's not the way it should be run. Nowadays, you have entities, privately, the subsidiaries, where they can run by themselves, where you can unleash the vision of that particular segment of that subsidiary and let them reach their vision. And you don't have to spoon-feed them. I think there are better ways to manage these GLCs. My other point that I have also stressed, also the fact that these GLCs are not focused in what they're supposed to do. Sime Darby was created for palm oil plantation. TNB started with electricity, and power grids, but they are going into other businesses. So similarly with telecom. Yes, they are still a major part of their businesses in telecommunication, but they're venturing into other businesses. So they are not focused. I think the major part of the divestment should really understand the nature, the first time when the GLC was created, why is it particularly important for them to focus? That is very important. Again, I think overall, in terms of the overall management, it has been shown through research that government, this is where it somehow or another we have a lack of trust when it comes to the government trying to manage. There have been studies that if the government better manage the GLCs tend to improve. Yes, I do agree with that. But if you have a good government. If you have one person that doesn't manage the government well, then there you go, the other JLCs will go down the drain. So at the end of the day, we are still depending on the very few to run the JLCs, and that is not a good idea. So we need to have a better structured way of looking at things, you know. That is my rebuttal remarks.
All right. Does that conclude your closing remarks?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Zakir. Okay, similarly, Amirul, you have 6 minutes with regards to your rebuttal and closing remarks on the topic of the day. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Zakir, you mentioned in your opening speech about the market capitalization of the JLCs as compared to another scenario. Well, I can give you a quote. There are 3 types of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. I mean, just because the capitalization is such doesn't mean that the JLCs are not working, or they are not, or they are dominating the economy, because market capitalization is not a good indicator in the sense that, for example, if you go to Myanmar, if you go to Cambodia, if you go to even the Philippines or Indonesia, how many companies or JLCs are actually listed and is dominating the economy when they are a listed entity? So I believe that when you compare in terms of market capitalization, it's not a fair comparison. Second rebuttal point is that, again, the world is our market. We should not be putting ourselves in a nutshell, especially with the advent of the ASEAN 2015, whereby the economy will be open to ASEAN countries and barriers will be removed. Then the local economy would be having, I would say, an influx of businesses from Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand to invest in the local economy. And the local SMEs should be more than ready to be able to face these challenges. I mean, again, you were mentioning about technology. I mean, I love you in the sense that the technology is what makes Malaysia or Malaysian products open to the world, accessible to the world. I mean, you can even sell whatever crafts that we have to the Eskimo, right? So with this technology, we should not limit ourselves to the local economy. You also mentioned about the creation of employment, right? I've mentioned a guesstimate of the employees of JLCs are easily above 500,000. The trickle-down effects of these JLCs spending by their employees stimulates the local economy. As I've said earlier, imagine Subang or Sepang without MAS and MAB. Imagine Proton Siri without Proton. I mean, the local economy will just die without them. So how can they stifle the local economy when they are the one who are stimulating and actively engaging the local players or the local stakeholders? You also mentioned about the boom and bust cycle of the management of JLCs. I mean, it's also happening to the other listed companies or private limited companies for that aspect. So they act in the same way that the other companies act. But bear in mind, you also mentioned about TNB and the IPPs, right? So because of the social development agenda of the JLC, TNB is actually making less money compared to the IPPs. And to top it all, with their CSR, they have a university called Uniten. How many IPPs that you know of have a university that they can call their own? Having said that, you also mentioned about Sam Dhabi, right? As we all know, Sam Dhabi started out as a plantation company, and perhaps due to the powers that be, decided to enlarge the company and show it to the world that this is a reason why companies can invest in Malaysia. I mean, of course, I agree with you that the JLCs should be focused. But having said that, we should also have a mitigating risk we should mitigate our business so that it will not be cyclical in nature. Remember your boom and bust cycle? We should try to even out the earnings of the GLC by not just being too focused on one particular sector. Having 2 or 3 sectors will even out the cyclical nature of the revenue and profits of the GLCs. And with that, Zakir, I believe I've made my point. Even though I'm not from the government, I believe I've made my point that GLCs do not stifle the economy. They help nurture the economy. They have their social development agenda. And more importantly, they're also the defender of the nation's interests. With that, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Amirul. Well, Zakir, Amirul, you both came up with some very, very insightful points for and against the role of the GLCs. And this would be some of the summarized key points which I came up with from your various messages which you were trying to deliver. Okay, firstly, Zakir, one of the key points which you have brought up was the fact that GLCs would have a head start, a huge head start compared to any other startup companies, because you have a government, a huge organization, which is the government, with deep pockets to start the ball rolling. So when compared to someone from the private sector, they would be at a huge disadvantage there. So the playing field is not level in this manner. Now, on another point, which we have come to, given the fact that some of these organizations are so huge, the tendency for bureaucracy, the tendency for inefficiencies will of course emerge. Some government-linked companies can be deemed as dinosaur-like. Not nimble enough, cannot move with the times, cannot change because of the entrenched culture. So that would be a somewhat disadvantage for GLCs. And in other words, it could stifle the economy in part due to the inefficient allocation of resources. All right. Third one, which was a very key issue, was management. Now, obviously, you want the people to run the company to be someone who has great vision, great capabilities, and great experience. However, a lot of the GLCs are government appointed. So this could be individuals who are very well-versed, very experienced, but whether it's relevant to the company they're running could possibly not lead to the maximization of what the company is capable of achieving. So they could be doing very well, but in fact with the right people, the right structure, they could even do even better. Yeah, that's one possibility there. Now, okay, with regards to the GLCs, yes, it is indeed a fact that in certain industries, without GLCs, nothing will take off because it involves huge investments. It will involve huge follow-throughs. As you mentioned just now, oil and gas, mining. We're talking about billions of dollars of investments, which any normal company may have difficulties raising the funds or getting the necessary experience to actually see out, especially the initial startup. TNB would be a good example, but eventually you can see the IPPs coming into the picture thereafter. Another important point would be social responsibility. GLCs are obviously there not just to make profit. In fact, they have social responsibilities in many forms. Perhaps Maybank having to have branches in more rural areas where they can't make profits as compared to the urban areas. Mars having to fly to rural areas in Sabah and Sarawak where they're obviously losing a lot of money. Then, of course, you mentioned scholarships. Scholarships in creating a greater wealth of knowledge in order to break that cycle of poverty, for example. And last but not least, one of the very pertinent points which you have made is with regards to technology. Ironically, the point which you made about technology, it has in fact created a more even playing field today. Technology has in fact brought the gap closer, as now even small companies, as you have mentioned, can reach out to customers across the world as compared to before. So technology has in fact played a greater part in this respect. So we are no longer looking at being the jago kampung. We want to be a big fish in a big pond rather than a big fish in merely a small pond. Now that I've summarized all the points, pertinent points that both of you have brought up, we will now determine who will be the winner of this debate after the points are tallied.